In this series of videos, we're going to take a look at one of the most fundamental parts of programming, which is making decisions. When we're making a decision, we're going to test something, test some kind of equation or comparison, and then we're going to take one action if that test results to true, or another action, potentially, optionally, if the test results to false. So this is what we're going to call if syntax, or if-else, if-else-if syntax. This is something that's frequent in programming. In this series of videos, we're not going to take a look at switch case. That is an alternate way that we can do conditional logic. We're just going to be taking a look at if and else-if. So first, let's take a look at syntax and think through an example. If day equals Saturday, so what's going on here? I have a decision. I have the start of the if test, and then in the parentheses, I'm doing some kind of comparison. Day is a variable that's a string, and I'm using a method called equals to say, is it Saturday? If it's Saturday, I'm going to go to Uncle Woody's, the bar up on Calhoun Street, and have a grolsch. That alone is a valid if test. So the word if, and then the parentheses include some kind of comparison. Afterwards, an open curly and a closed curly. This is what we're going to call a block. And in this case, the logic that's inside of the block will execute, but only if the comparison up here evaluates to true. So that's the simplest if test that we have. Let's look at a more complicated if test. We can expand this a little bit, because in our simple if test, we're only performing some action if it's Saturday. We're ignoring the other days of the week. So let's take a look at this. How many blocks do we have? Remember a block, open curly, close curly. There's one block, there's two blocks, there's three blocks. One thing about an if test is that blocks are mutually exclusive. In other words, you're only going to run one block at a time. You're not going to run the first block and then run the second block and then run the third block. You're only going to run one of these three blocks depending on which of these equations evaluates to true. So at the absolute most fundamental level, an if test has to have this, which I've highlighted here, which is the if part. That's an absolute requirement. The else if is optional. You can have 0 else ifs, you can have 1, you can have 500, you can have as many as you want. The else part is optional. The else is kind of like a default or a catch-all. You can have 0 elses, or you can have 1 else. You can't have multiple elses. And there I'm speaking specifically about else, not else if. Okay, let's walk through this. If the day is Saturday, I'm off to Woody's to have a grolsch. Else if, this part is only going to execute if the day is not Saturday. Else if the day is Friday, then I'm off to Christie's, and unfortunately Christie's has since closed and has been torn down, but nonetheless. Else if it's not Saturday, then I'm going to say, well, is it Friday? If it's Friday, I'm off to Christie's to have a Hudie Delight. Okay, now what if it's not Saturday? What if it's not Friday? If it's not Saturday, this part will not execute. If it's not Friday, this part will not execute. If it's some other day, then we're going to go to the catch-all. We're going to go to the else part and say, time to go to work. Okay? Now let's take a look at another example. This was comparing strings. Let's see what happens when we compare numbers. When we compare numbers, we're going to use a different set of operators. We're going to use double equal, not single equal, to say equality. Are these two things equal? So 5 equal 5 would return true. 5 equal 4 would return false. Exclamation equal says, are these things not equal? In other words, 5 exclamation equal 4 would return true because they're not equal. 5 exclamation equal 5 would return false because they are equal, and this operator will only return true if they're not equal. Then we have the less than symbol, the greater than symbol, which means, is it greater than? Not greater than or equal to? Is it greater than? Is it less than? Not less than or equal to? Is it less than? Less than or equal, greater than or equal. You see, when you add the equal sign to that equation, it will return true if the number on the left is greater than or equal to the number on the right. This one will return true if the number on the left is less than or equal to the number on the right. See, here's another example. How much cash do I have? I want to go downtown. How much cash do I have? If I have less than $3.50, I'm going to ride the bus, and I'm going to skip all of these because they don't apply. As soon as one of these tests return true, I skip everything else that follows. Okay, what if I have $5? Well, if I have $5 would be the value of the cash variable. 5 is not less than or equal to 350, so this is going to return false. And we're going to jump down here and we're going to say, is 5 less than 6? Well, yes, it is, so I'm going to park at the stadium. Now, I'm going to ignore all of the tests that follow because, again, each of these blocks are mutually exclusive. Only one will run at a time. Okay? Now, let's say I have exactly $6. This is false. Exactly $6 is not less than $6, but exactly $6 is $6. So this time, park at 7th and Sycamore before 9 o'clock. Now it's funny, the slide that you're looking at I made when I first started teaching at UC, which is around 2001. These parking rates have changed dramatically since that time. At the time I made the slide it was true. I don't think it would be true anymore. Okay, what if I have $8? This is going to be false, we're going to skip this. This is going to be false, we'll skip this. This is going to be false, we'll skip this. But do we have less than $15? Well, yes, we do, so I can park at Fountain Square. Okay, so you see we skip the ones that are not true, we come to the one that is true. Okay, what if I have $20? $20 is not less than $3.50, it's not less than 6, it's not equal to 6, it's not less than or equal to 15, so I go to the catch-all, I go to the else part, and I take a limo. So that's a simple look at if tests and how we can run them. Remember that the most important part here, every if test has to have this block, the first if. The else if part is optional. You can have 0 of them, you can have 1 of them, you can have 500. The else part is a catch-all. That is optional as well, but you can only have a maximum of 1 of those. And the order is important. We have to start with the else ifs are in the middle, and then the catch-all else part is what comes at the end. In our next video, we'll see how we can represent this in a flowchart. I'll see you then.